The COVID-19 virus has greatly affected the lives of people all over the world and presented Americans and their families with many new and difficult challenges. To help support our veterans and their loved ones during this trying time, Hiring America is speaking with experts and organizations around the country to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on the veteran community and provide tips on how to navigate the current crisis. This week, we're speaking with Montanaro, a financial planner at USAA. JJ, thanks for joining us today on Hiring America.
Thanks, Lawrence. Great to be with you. As always, even if we're not, I can see you, but I can't see that much of you.
The COVID-19 virus has made things difficult for Americans all over the country in lots of different ways, especially financially speaking. What have you been hearing from the veteran community about how COVID-19 has affected their finances?
For the average American out there, the folks that are currently serving in the military or veterans, what they're seeing is income disruption. So one or the other spouse losing their job and having an impact on income, or they're looking at their portfolio thinking 2 months ago, hey, I'm in great shape, we're on a perfect glide path, and now that doesn't look exactly the same.
So what should people be doing or not doing at this time?
Well, the hardest thing for them not to do is not to let their emotions rule. If you look at decisions, whether it's financial or otherwise, the decisions that we make in the midst of an emotional moment are typically not the right decisions. And I think that's really a great baseline for people to think about is incorporate some sort of cooling period. So this would be a cooling period in terms of how they make decisions, whether they have to do with a purchase, with spending, or really anywhere in their life, so that they're not making decisions based on emotion, things like that.
People are looking at their 401k plans, their kids' 529s, and they're panicking. Is this a time to be putting money into those accounts, or should they be waiting right now?
Yeah, I think you keep doing what you're doing. So my line or my thought around this is that you anchor to your plan. And so when it comes to specifically to investments in the investment markets, you ought to be aligned with the time frame of the goals that you have. So if I've got a mortgage payment due next month, that money is not sitting in the stock market because I know I'm going to need it. So I've aligned it, it's sitting in cash and it's going to be there. All of it's going to be there when I need it. So I think what folks ought to do is really make sure that their plan, their investments, their savings is aligned with the goals that they have. And then, hey, if I've got retirement 10 years or 20 or 30 years out, really what's happening day to day, month to month, even year to year is not what's important. What's important is where am I at down the road?
We all have a lot more time on our hands at home. And I've heard people talk about this being a great time to talk about the family budget. What should that conversation be like right now?
I think that when you look at the family budget, really taking a close look at how you're spending is an opportunity that the pandemic and the stay-at-home orders really presents. Everybody has different spending patterns, and probably through this pandemic and through what's going on, they're identifying certain areas where maybe they could cut back easier than they thought they could. Or maybe they need to allocate more money towards things like, for example, building up a cash reserve.
What's your advice to veterans watching who just lost their jobs?
Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And what they need to do is make sure that they're willing to ask for help. At USAA, for example, we have a hub for everything having to do with the pandemic, usaa.com/coronavirus. And so if somebody's a USAA member, they could go on there and see what might be able to be worked out in terms of being able to make payments. They can see what we've done with premiums for auto insurance due to decreased use of vehicles. So again, that's just one example, but there are a lot of folks willing to help. You just have to be willing to ask.
Are there any financial opportunities that the COVID-19 virus may uncover for some people?
So there are opportunities out there. For example, a Roth IRA conversion. Now, when you convert money from a Roth IRA to a traditional IRA, you're going to pay tax on the taxable portion of that. Well, if the value is down, that could be an opportunity to convert. Furthermore, if your income is down, again, you're going to pay less taxes. So that's something you'll want to talk to your tax advisor about. But another example of a potential opportunity from the pandemic.
JJ, are there lessons to be learned from everything that we're going through? Something that we could take away to better prepare ourselves for future challenges?
Lauren, one of the key things that hits me again, and as a financial planner, I feel like a broken record, but just the idea of having an emergency fund, whether you're looking at, hey, what do I do with my recovery rebate check or my tax return or some sort of windfall, or what do I build into my budget? The idea of setting aside and having a robust emergency fund is really one of those things that, again, unfortunately, is being driven home by what we're seeing today. So keep the faith. Realize that better times are coming, and don't let this thing throw you off track in the short term and make it a long-term problem.
JJ, thank you for such great advice, much needed advice during this time.
Lauren, thanks for having me, and best of luck to all of our service members and veterans out there.
Hiring America will be right back.